Okay, my name is Gareth Dyke. This is a Diffusion Editing Bentham Science joint presentation. We are going to be talking about planning your research to publish in high impact journals. I hope that you can hear me. We're just going to wait like a minute or two to make sure that everybody joining us has the chance to get into our chat room. I see there are lots of people already here, already with us from all over the world. So thank you so much for joining us for our presentation today. Let me just say that my name is Gareth Dyke. There's my contact information. There's our Twitter feed. You can see the information there on the screen. I hope in front of you, you should be able to see the slides, and I hope you can hear me as we start to think about getting started with our presentation today. If you have comments or feedback or any issues during our webinar presentation today, you can write in the chat box there, and one of our team will get back to you as soon as possible. I would also say that everybody who's registered for this event will also get access to the slides and the recording of this presentation. But again, if you have any follow-up, any questions, any comments, any feedback, you are always more than welcome to get in touch with us at our email address there on the screen at diffusionediting.com, or directly in touch with me, or directly in touch with one of our colleagues at Bentham Science. We are going to get started now, and let's go. We are talking today in our presentation about planning your research to publish in high impact journals, something that everybody wants to do as an academic. Get your work published in the best journals possible, as fast as possible, as efficiently as possible. And we all want as many papers as possible in our careers in the best journals that we can get them published in. So that's what we're going to talk about today, maximizing the impact of your research. I've worked for many years in Ireland. If you listen to my English, sounds a little bit Irish in the way that I speak. Also in the UK, also in Hungary. I'm a researcher. I've published myself more than 280 academic papers over the course of my career. Check me out on LinkedIn. Have a look at our Diffusion Editing website. I'm also working doing training, presentations like this for companies like Bentham Science. We aim to help you authors to be effective with writing and publishing your research, communicating in English. I work for a number of journals as well as writing and publishing my own research. So I certainly hope that I will be able to help you understand what journals are also looking for in that research process, getting your work published effectively and getting it written effectively. So that's the background to me. You're probably thinking, why should I listen to this guy shouting at me in English for the next 45 minutes? Well, we're going to talk about three things in this webinar today. We're going to talk about journal selection. We're going to talk about maximizing your impact as a researcher. And then we're going to talk a little bit about effective title and abstract writing in order that you can be as impactful as possible with your research, getting it targeted into those leading international journals. The point of all of this, of course, is to help you be as effective as possible as an academic. That's the point of all the training that we provide. Our goal is to help you get your work into those leading international journals. Speaking of leading international journals, let me start off by saying just a few words about Bentham Science, a major international publisher of journals and ebooks. Have a look at their eurekaselect.com website. Have a look at the Bentham Science publishers website, online e-journals, hybrid journals, and ebooks. So many journals with impact factors, high impact factors, as we're going to be discussing in this presentation. Perhaps one of the Bentham Science series will be a good choice for your next research project. Here you can see the eurekaselect.com search window. You can go in there, you can browse through all of the journals that Bentham Science publish. If you get in touch with us at the end of this presentation, we will give you access, your library, your institution, access to a free trial period of Bentham journals and ebooks so that you can see the kinds of content that they publish across many of the science disciplines, chemistry, biology, and medicinal sciences in particular. All right, let's get started. Let's start by thinking about these numbers, 30,000 and 2 million. What do these numbers mean to you? Well, probably not a lot, but let me tell you that there are about 30,000 science journals around there, out there in the world, about 30,000 that we know of, that based on the most recent estimates. And each year in 2019, about 2 million scientific articles were published around the world in the peer-reviewed academic literature. 30,000 journals, 2 million articles. How can you stand out? How can you ensure that your work gets read? How can you ensure that your work is impactful? It's a big question, and it's very important for you to think about as a researcher. Standing out, making sure that your research makes an impact, making sure that your research is seen and read and cited. There are a number of strategies that we will adopt, that we will think about in order to help you do that. Your journal selection is a marriage, isn't it, between research and publication? And it's one of the things that you should think about before you start to write. That's right. Yes, before you put pen to paper and start to write your next academic article, think about your target audience. Which journal are you going to select for your research to be published in? Many, many, many successful academic researchers, successful academic writers don't start to write until they've decided on a target journal. And how can you do that effectively? Well, you can talk to other colleagues, you can talk to editors, you can talk to people like us, and you can make pre-submission inquiries. I'm going to talk about this in a bit more detail in a minute, but there is nothing wrong with writing emails to a range of different possible journals for your next research paper and seeing what the editors say. They may come back positively, they may come back negatively, but teeing up, to use a golf analogy, getting ready a journal before you write an article can speed up the process and make the whole process much, much more efficient. We can certainly help you with this as well. We provide journal selection services. If that's of interest to you, have a look at our diffusionediting.com website. What kind of paper are you going to write? Where are you going to send that article? And journal selection is important, very important, and many, indeed most, young researchers have little idea about which journals they should be picking. Actually, researchers around the world take into account 4 distinct things, usually, when selecting a journal for their research. Impact factor, which you'll all be well aware of, and we're going to talk about in a bit more detail. Journal reputation, reach within the field, And this is very field dependent because, of course, in some research areas, there'll be journals that have good reputations, that have good reach within that particular research field, but that may not have such high impact factors necessarily. And then, of course, fourthly, authors think about accessibility. They think about, is the journal open access or not? Can everybody, anybody who wants to, get access to my research once it's published? Will the journal be stuck behind a paywall? Can other colleagues around the world access my research? So people tend to think about impact factor, reputation, reach, and accessibility when making journal.